Hello and welcome to Faith Evolving. My name is Clare, and today we're going to be talking about how Jehovah is a nonsense word, and how when I was 15 and thought that I knew everything about the world, I was actually kind of right. Would y'all mind if I begin with a story? The answer better be yes, because this is pre-recorded, and I can't hear your response. Are y'all familiar with the worship song, Days of Elijah? It's a good one. It's just like bursting with joy. Well, we sang it quite a bit at the church that raised me, also while I was on worship rotation. And if you're not familiar with the song, the bridge repeats the phrase, "There is no God like Jehovah," over and over and over again until the chorus explodes in this like marvelous key change. Now, our worship director at the time was a musician with Southern Baptist roots who always wore this bright orange Tennessee sweatshirt. He played drums for Amy Grant for a stint and wouldn't ever let us forget it. But even at age 15, I already disagreed with a lot of his theology and to an extent the way he went about, leading worship. But he wasn't a bad person by any means. He loved music, and he loved God. One rehearsal, while we were running through Days of Elijah, he stopped us to make a few edits. And he said, "We're actually going to change 'There is no God like Jehovah' to 'There is no God but Jehovah,' because it's more theologically sound." And my little burgeoning interfaith worldview set off alarm bells in my head, and I began silently fuming. All of the other adults around me were like, "Yeah, you're right." And I was in my head, I was like, "No, you're not right." And I don't think I said anything at the time. I really don't think I did. I was much too scared of authority figures. And honestly, my bark is much worse than my bite. But I do remember complaining about it to some of my youth group friends later. Because even in a Christianity-only worldview, there are so many other names for God. Like, are we just gonna ignore those? So, every rehearsal, I would sing "There is no God like Jehovah" until I was corrected. And also during worship sometimes I would still sing "There is no God like Jehovah" because saying "but" just like felt wrong in my mouth. I wanted to fight the power. Flash forward a solid 7 years to me sitting in my Hebrew class, and my professor is giving us a mini lecture on how Jehovah is a made-up word. And I felt 15-year-old Clare rising up within me, saying, I was right, more than I could have ever known, I was right. So now I shall pass this mind-blowing information on to you. Are y'all ready for a Hebrew lesson? So God has an official name in the Hebrew Bible. It's 4 letters, Yod, He, Vav, He, or in English, YHWH. God reveals this name to Moses in Exodus 3 during that whole blazing bush situation. And the fun thing is that name comes from the Hebrew root, He, Yod, He, which means to be. So God's name essentially means I am who I am, / I will be who I will be, which is just so ambiguously whimsical and feels, at least to me, very in line with God's self. Moses asks, "Hey God, what's your name?" And God's like, "That's above your pay grade. I am who I am, I will be who I will be." So we have God's name now. However, many practicing people of the Jewish faith don't say the holy name of God out loud because it's too holy to utter. So, out of respect, I will not be saying it either. The word with vowels looks a little bit like this, and you've probably seen it written out before. As a substitute for people who don't say the holy name of God out loud, it can be called the tetragrammaton because it's 4 letters, Adonai, which means the Lord, or in English you could just say the Lord, and sometimes it's called Hashem, or the name. This is especially for some more Orthodox Jewish people who, saying Adonai casually is still too cavalier, So to keep that respect for God, you say Hashem, or the name. But how do you avoid accidentally saying the holy name of God out loud? Well, the Masoretic Scribes had a few tricks up their sleeve that I'm going to tell you about now. Originally, the Hebrew texts were written out without any vowels. Like when you're studying ancient Hebrew, there's just no vowels, consonants only, with kind of an exception, because the Masoretes, actually the Masoretes, I don't know how to pronounce words, wanted to preserve the way that the Hebrew was spoken, so they kind of did these like little annotations that is to tell you what the vowel sound would have been. As an example, here is a word without the annotations, and this is what it looks like with the annotations. In this way, the Masoretic approach aimed to preserve the original text and traditions. However, when their tradition and their text conflicted, it caused quite a bit of an issue, and so they needed to solve the problem. Thus, they split words into the ketiv, what is written, and the kire, what is said aloud. I regret to inform you all, I consistently mispronounce those two words throughout the rest of the video. It's actually the ketiv and the kere. It's not great. It's not great how much I mispronounce these words. Just know I'm sinning boldly. Being incorrect boldly. Carry on. This way, both the tradition and the text could be preserved for posterity's sake. An example of the ketiv and kire in action can be seen with the tetragrammaton. The ketiv would be like the actual holy name of God, which is fine to be written but not said out loud, so Yod He Vav He. Whereas the kire would be Adonai because it's safe and still sacred and reverent to say Adonai in the context of worship. But since this kire is so reoccurring, it wasn't always just like clearly labeled as one. Instead, the kire is indicated using like vowel annotations under the ketiv word. So we have Yod He Vav He, but with the vowels from Adonai. So when you look at it, you want to say Jehovah instead of the fill in the consonants A. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? When you have the code without the key, then Jehovah turns into Jehovah because of somewhere along the lines of Latin, the Y turned into a J. I don't know. I'm not a Latin scholar. I've had one semester of seminary. So now in the Christian tradition, we have the name Jehovah, which isn't necessarily like super wrong, but it's also not super right. Most definitely, it isn't more theologically sound to say there is no God but Jehovah, unless if you're like a Jehovah's Witness, but maybe not. I don't really know a lot about Jehovah's Witnesses. All I know is from the show Community, because that's Troy's religion. 'Cause I am Jehovah's most secret witness. And I know Community isn't really the place to go to get religious intricacies right, so really don't quote me on that. Do not clip that. I don't... any Jehovah's Witnesses, please sound off in the comments below. So that's a little bit about the history of the word Jehovah. Like, comment, and subscribe for more nerdy God content. You can donate to my Ko-fi if you want. I have merch, which is linked down below. It's all very exciting. Let me know if you want more like Hebrew tidbits, and I shall deliver. It would probably take me a while to go back in my brain and come up with a script, maybe not until the summer, but if you have a hankering for more in the meantime, I highly suggest... my camera cut out right as, right at the end there. What I was saying is I highly suggest Blackboard Hebrew with Tim McNinch, and I believe that's everything, so, see you in the next one. Happy New Year. This is my first video of the new year. Okay, bye.